of our global effort at this time, moving through a series of ILC programs in 8 different regions around the world. And I think you've set a very high standard. I'm truly astounded at what you accomplished moving through this series of about 9 sessions that cover so much ground: relations of China, Russia, and the U.S., the relations of Korea, Japan, and America, the economic dimension, the military dimension, and reviewing the 6-party talks with people like Ambassador Hill and Ambassador Detrani and Ambassador Flight. Anyway, I just have to applaud your work. And I don't know if the audience knows, but Dr. Jenkins, I think you put this together in about 10 days, if I'm not mistaken. So I just want to congratulate you. I think looking at the people that you've been able to pull into this series shows how significantly UPF, under the leadership of Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon and the team here in North America, has advanced. And I think we bring something to the table that the world desperately needs, which is reasoned discussion and conversation of substantial issues with a constructive purpose to look together for solutions beyond polarized ideologies. And the world needs a place for that, and I think you've accomplished that. And I just want to express thanks. I know we'll be also tuning in to webinars in other parts of the world as they are also rolling out. And we'll stay in touch. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share a few words and express my appreciation. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins and the whole team.
Dr. Walsh, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Walsh. We really appreciate your support and also your leadership at this incredible time in history. So thank you again, Dr. Walsh. We'd like to now welcome Dr. Michael Jenkins, who is the president of UPF International and chairman of UPF in North America. He'll be offering his summary report along with some support of other members of our team.
Well, first, I want to thank Dr. Walsh for his being here. I know he's dealing with 7 ILCs going on concurrently around the globe. And I really thank him for his support for America, North America, Canada, the US, and his decisiveness. When I asked him, which way to go, he's very clear and very, very much in tune with what our founder, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, is seeing the vision of. And I'm really grateful to work with Dr. Walsh and our team, Tom McDivitt and Larry Moffat, kind of our Washington core with Tomiko and Reverend Oliver. And now Kayleigh Moffat is playing such a key role, and EJ, of course. This is a great effort. But without all the collaboration of everybody that's been here in leadership, and from Canada, Dr. Kim and Dr. Famularo, Dr. Ki-Hun Kim and Dr. Yong, guiding us as our elders, and Archbishop Stallings and all of our excellent affiliated organizations. It's really been amazing. Tomiko's played such a key role. So today we just want to give a glimpse of what happened the last few days. So I'd like to ask, turn on the mics of Larry and Tomiko. We'll be in the background, but I'm going to just show the program that we were able to develop here. And it gives a summary of each session. So when we turn that page, we're Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're ending today at our closing session. Our opening session was excellent with Congressman Burton and Dr. Chung Shik Yong and Kayleigh and myself. And we're really grateful for the first session was the state of relations between US, China, and Russia. And it was outstanding. Dr. Tolaraya, who came because we did a collaboration on 2 of our sessions. We did a collaboration with Jacques Marion and Mark Brand and our whole UPF UMI. And it was a great collaboration. And they brought the Russian ambassador to North Korea on 2 occasions. He was U.S. or Russia ambassador to North Korea. He was a deputy ambassador to South Korea, very, very high up in the Russian leadership for many, many years. And it added a lot. And during that program, what was interesting, we had 100 participants from Russia. Some were diplomats. We had over 110, I think it was, and it was very interesting. Also, we had Mr. Doug Bondo, who's another expert from Cato Institute, and our own Guy Taylor has also become a very regular commentator now. He's very excited about it, from the Washington Times. Mm-hmm. Second session, Larry, go ahead. Tell us about the second session, trilateral relations.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. This was a really interesting session because it engages emotionally Korea, Japan, and the United States. We began with a video we received from former Vice Minister of the Unification of Korea. He was Vice Minister in 2016 and 2017. I wish we had had a video from the somebody in the Japanese Diet, but we weren't able to pull that together in time. However, I was grateful that Professor Kim Hyung-suk, who gave us the video from Korea, was very even-handed in his comments. He didn't editorialize. He didn't try to be provocative. He went over the colonial history, the history of colonialism of Japan over Korea and the struggles they went through. He cited the comfort women, of course, and the economic conflict that kind of started the recent spate of hostilities between Japan and Korea when the Korean Supreme Court made a ruling over forced labor during the Korean War, saying that a Japanese company had to pay reparations for that. So, but that was all just historical things, and he gave a very adequate historical summation. So we're very grateful for that. Then we had Bruce Klingner from the Heritage Institute and Mr. Greg Scarletti. Both of these gentlemen have a great deal of experience in Japan and Korea. So they're able to offer a kind of a balance, and both have a great deal of affection for both countries. Bruce Klingner was the CIA station chief in Korea in 1994, when we came almost as close as we've come to getting physical with North Korea. And it was over the incident of them closing the Yongbyon nuclear plant and gathering enough spent uranium fuel rods to make half a dozen nuclear weapons. They were looking for sanctions from the UN. Clinton sent extra troops, and Klingner had a front row seat to that. So he talked about that. And he also spoke about his time in Japan and his affection for the Japanese culture. Greg Scarletti is founder and CEO of the Committee on Human Rights in North Korea. But the thing that he does is really interesting. He teaches a course at the State Department for Foreign Service Officers that deals with the culture, comparative cultures of Japan and Korea for Foreign Service Officers going over to Asia. So they don't go over there thinking Koreans and Japanese are the same, because as we know, they are very, very different. Culture, history, economics. He goes into it, speaks Korean fluently, and he said Korean and Japanese politicians to be able to meet together without drawing criticism for their constituents back home, it's better if the U.S. can be there so that all three parties are talking. Both Klingner and Scarletti advised the Biden administration to stay engaged in Asia, speak often on the issues of the Korean Peninsula, and hold China accountable for every aggression in the region. So it was a fabulous session. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. On Friday, June 25th, session 4, we had prospects for the renewal of the six-party talks. This was highly relevant to the White House because the Biden administration is now reviewing every possible way of engagement with North Korea. And they're more of a multilateral kind of administration. They want to have stakeholders together. Christopher Hill is also chairing the Washington Brief every first Tuesday, and he's become very close. And he was very interested in the actual depth of dialogue that occurred here. Ambassador Detrani, we know, both of them are renowned experts on Korea and China. And it was very friendly towards China, but it was also very honest. And Fred Fleitz is the chief of staff under John Bolton. He was deputy chief, or he was chief of staff of the National Security Council in the White House under the Trump administration. He was chief of staff for John Bolton. He was totally involved with the Singapore developments, and he could give us backstage insights into what's going on. But he was very strong on China, very strong, and he helped bring out the fact that the Trump administration is transactional. It was transactional, so they only want to deal one-on-one with North Korea, and that didn't gain a lot of support from the other allies. So he doesn't like at all the multilateral view. But at the same time, Christopher Hill's a proponent of engagement because it really became clear, that President Trump did some great things there, but also there were some shortcomings, and the breakdown in Hanoi broke down the dialogue with North Korea. Biden administration is trying to come back. Christopher Hill's giving them some pointers on how that might be done, but all agree that China has to be included if we're going to bring the peaceful reunification of North and South Korea. Vicky Tehart was our moderator for this session. This is a very different tone of this session. It was on the environment. Dr. Lisa Brady is an expert on the effect of the environment by military action, military involvement. And she's an expert on Korea, what happened in the Korean War, and the environmental destruction that occurred before and after the Korean War. And very interesting, very uplifting, hopeful too, because they all agree that we've got to take care of the environment. This wasn't a climate change discussion. This was more on how do you take care of the micro dust flowing over from China. And that's Dr. Matt Shapiro's an expert in that field at Illinois Tech University, or Illinois Tech Institute. He's a professor there, and his thing is on China and the multinational pollution that it comes, and not just about China, but about other nations too. But he really pinned down the way that the scholars and the climate or the environmental experts have been trying to engage China, and so has Korea, and experts from his collaboration with Japan and Korea a lot, and China. Reverend Oliver did an excellent presentation on core values and the common ground that we need to work on, including the environment. And Dr. Sung-Ho Lee also presented his program on the DMZ zone. And he collaborates with Dr. Brady, and she demonstrated through her PowerPoint some fascinating things. The DMZ area, because it's not touched by mankind, is flourishing now in terms of ecology and the wildlife. So they're using that as a model of how to make the rest of South Korea flourish, because there has been problems in the environment, and North Korea. Tom McDivitt, can you share about this session on session 6? Economic and political realities in Northeast Asia.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. I want to echo Dr. Walsh's comments about the significance of this program and the outstanding work that was pulled together in such short notice. Was happy to participate in the afternoon on June 25th. Congressman John Doolittle, of course, is the North American head of IAPP, the North American chair, did a great job. He, of course, served in Congress with Congressman Cliff Stearns, and both of them were at the World Summit 2020. Cliff is vice president, executive director at APCO, one of the top global public relations communications firms in the world. And he has an ample background in the economic development in Asia, because their company has 3 offices in China, along with Tokyo, and does a lot of work in South Korea. Shihoko Goto had spoken at our programs over the past several years. She's with the Wilson Institute, the Wilson Center, and she is an expert on economics and trade in the Asia Pacific region. So it gave us a chance to focus on the Asia Pacific area and the importance of economics and trade, along with the political realities. I had just looked at a number of articles on the Taiwan situation that just happened this last week, how hot that matter is getting, with the potential of China, grabbing Taiwan. and flexing its muscles. So I brought that up into kind of a real situation, but it was a good opportunity. And I think overall that these sessions are generating thought leadership content that we need to capture and weave together. It's kind of the threads of a tapestry that could lead to the Think Tank 2022 work. But I think overall is a great job with everybody. Thanks, Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Tom. I think one thing we're learning is from the UPF rallies of hope, as well as the World Summit and the ILCs we did before, we're building a friendship with these great leaders. So the Cliff Stearns came to the World Summit last in 2019, and Shihoko Goto came when Dr. Kim was helping us with the Washington Times fact finders, and she came for the first media conference. So we built these friendships for many, many years. Congressman Doolittle did an excellent job at moderating. And now, Tomiko, can you share about session 7?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we just finished 5 minutes ago. And this is excellent, again, bringing military trained professionals. Thank you, Larry Moffett, finding those people. This is a really great speakers. We had 3 speakers, Captain James Farnell. He is, of course, former Director of Intelligence and Information Operations for the US Pacific Fleet. He's a truly expert on what's happening in regarding to China's military build-up. And also second one is Colonel Grant Newsham. He is the very first liaison working with the Japanese Ground Defense Force and also attaché at the US Embassy twice. He got lots of information to share. And then third one is Honorary Matt Salmon, our friend, longtime friend, who speaks Mandarin. So as he was more and more missionary to Taiwan, he understands the heart of people, Chinese people, what's at that time going on up to this time. And so especially the Captain Farnell talked about China's dream, China dream, that is aiming the 100 years since Mao Zedong took over and become communist nation. And it's a restoration of national pride. And so they had a clear timeline. And this is period of it's called decade concern. And China's military built up in the South China Sea is real. So he gave us all details, which is very, very educational. And of course, the Colonel Grant was talking about the importance of allies between Taiwan, Japan, and the US. And this is a very important new trade alliance. Re-evaluation is needed. All agreed that gave China's advantage, too much advantage. The US is almost helping China to become powerful to build navies. That has to be re-evaluated. And then so of course recommending to the Quad military budget and the coordination with other with the millionaires bring back manufacturing to US out of China is necessary. And of course, I can really see that unwavering support for Taiwan. 3 of gentlemen really stand on this foundation. And so understanding freedom can be emphasized again. And because of the ideologies, we really didn't go detailed so much about ideological differences between what China believes and what we stand for. But the Captain Funnel mentioned that many people, they called student of Kissinger School. The arts people dealing with nicely, or as we believe people will change eventually, but it's not so. The military experts are saying that we should look at what is a reality, what China believes, and what we believe is completely no way to actually compromise. So this has to be understood.
Very good.
People
Very
who
good.
are working together. So
Thank you.
anyway, this is more like discussed, and we should continue to bring military people. We didn't really touch on the peace and security of the Korean Peninsula yet. So, but we really need experts to help us, to assist us. Their assessment is very important.
Thank you,
very much.
Tomiko.
Thank you.
The discussion on this session got to be a very interesting discussion on the ideology of communism and the fact that God-fearing ideology or development of Godism and the whole idea of democracy based on God came out from Congressman Salmon, and all the panel agreed. And especially Matt said the UPF is the most suited organization in the world to bring out these core values, the core values of faith, as a key to really helping the Chinese people be liberated from an ideology that denies God. So that was a beautiful session. Matt is running for governor of Arizona. He's been endorsed by President Trump and all across the board. He's going to be a very, very viable candidate. So our closing session is now. I'll turn it back over to Kayleigh. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins and Mrs. Duggan and Mr. Moffitt for that great summary report. Now we'd like to invite Dr. Ki-Hoon Kim, who's the chairman of the World Clergy Leadership Conference, for your remarks at this time. Welcome, Dr. Kim.
Thank you, Kelly. The last 3 days, this ILC conference sponsored by UPF, USA, and International, I am very, very impressed. There are so many worldly known professional panelists. They are not just only having a certain degree of academic background. They practiced real pragmatic world situation. They have experience as real leadership practices in the many various fields. So they are professional internally and externally in our real world. And also I'm very proud of UPF, USA, and International. As Dr. Walsh mentioned, you're arranging this initiative, leading ILC, sponsored by UPF, in short period of time, prepared, and many other side of the globe. UPF International Leadership Conference adopting this very creative and initiative USA ILC as a model conference. Thank you so much for your outpouring your effort leading this international leadership conference. Founder of UPF, Father and Mother Moon, incredible investment in USA for the sake of America and the world. And we could have the last 3 days very, very productive conferences. I, as a chair of World Christian Leadership Conference leadership, and I learned so many things from this 3 days international leadership conference. And I am more determined how WCLC help the world and Korean Peninsula issues. And lastly, I was very impressed the previous session and our dear Honorable Congressman Salmon mentioned, what we have power here, God. God sent to the nation, America, and no God sent to the nation. We are very clear, precisely, and centered on God. We can make it many things in different way we are facing today. Once again, thank you. And all our UPF International and USA and all STEM members, your great effort. God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Kim.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. We're really grateful for all that you're doing with WCLC and your support and involvement with this work here.
Thank you.
I would like to welcome Mr. Thomas McDivitt, the chairman of the Washington Times, for his remarks at this time.
Well, thank you very much, Kaylee, and thanks for your expert leadership. You bring a great deal of dignity and energy and experience to the table, and it helps a lot. I just want to echo what others have said. I think that the last session was quite striking, especially as it evolved into this discussion of core values and ideology and the relevance of those first principles in America, of course, which are God-centered. And it reminds me so much of what true of our Dr. Moon, Hak Ja Han Moon, our true mother and true father, have talked about for decades, of the incredible importance of that single fact of life and existence, that God exists as a heavenly parent. So I think that the core values of UPF, interdependence, mutual prosperity, universal values, that framework has such amazing potential, and it was reflected in each one of the sessions. So I'm just so grateful to be part of it. I do think we need to debrief, distill the learning and the ways to advance, especially in terms of publicizing and promoting these programs so that hundreds of thousands of people see it, because I think there's a huge audience for it. Thank you. And congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. McDivitt. Yes, I look forward to being able to share this kind of experience, this conference with the world. There's so much to offer. Thank you. Now we'd like to welcome Dr. Moonshik Kim, who is the chairman of UPF and Canada. Welcome, Dr. Moonshik Kim. We'd love to hear your remarks at this time.
Thank you, Kaylee. I'd like to give thanks to all of our prestigious panel of speakers, participants, and UPF leadership. Above all things, I'd like to offer my gratitude to our co-founders of UPF, Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, who have been stressing the significance of the reunification of the Korean Peninsula as an important stepping stone to world peace. Dr. and Mrs. Moon have been leading the non-governmental reunification movement, stressing 3 points. Firstly, a nationwide education program on the unification of North and South Korea, which can bring reconciliation and unify the nation through establishing a new value system. Secondly, the movement to restore one ethnic identity for the peaceful reunification of Korea while strengthening the international foundation for the reunification. Thirdly, the reunification movement must realize a society of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and shared values, which will allow both North and South Korea to prosper based on headwind thought, which can embrace both right-wing and left-wing through overcoming the shortcomings of each side. For this purpose, our founders have been investing an astronomical amount of resources for this reunification movement. We deeply appreciate our founders' investment in these areas. In order to bring the reunification of North and South Korea, it is essential to take into consideration the political relationships and interests of those surrounding nations. In this sense, the ILC was able to cover the related issues in such a limited time. I really hope and desire that UPF can play a crucial role to create the environment for the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula with the collaboration of all parliamentarians, politicians, and leaders of all walks of life. Let us continue to work together to bring the peaceful reunification of Korean Peninsula. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moon-Shik Kim. Those are really important words and important perspective. Gives us hope for the future as well. And now we'd like to welcome Dr. Franco Famularo, who is the president of UPF Canada, for his remarks at this time.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Moffett, and honorable leaders, distinguished participants from around the world, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to everyone involved in planning, organizing, and executing in such a short time the international conference, leadership conference, as we jointly marked yesterday's 71st anniversary during the past 3 days of the start of the Korean War on June 25th, 1950. We commemorate with mixed emotions because the start of a war, as you know, is never something to celebrate. And the fact that the conflict left the Korean Peninsula divided to this day is a terrible ordeal that continues to keep the North locked in. Of course, we all know a lot of good has come out of this conflict as well. And against all odds, the United Nations intervention of 1950 preserved the flame of freedom in the South, making it possible to build the most magnificent country. And the Republic of Korea today is a most peaceful country and among the 12 largest economies in the world. It's rare for a country to have built so much in such a short time. In the early 1950s, Korea was among the poorest countries in the world, with a GDP of just over $800 at a time when countries like the United States and Canada stood at close to 10,000 GDP. Today, South Korea has a GDP of 30,000 and is close to all the major and advanced countries in terms of its economic output. Canada and the United States were among the 16 UN countries to come to the aid of South Korea at the time. And I've had the pleasure, as many of you have, to meet veterans of the conflict, the people who made all the exploits of modern Korea possible. Their average age now is almost 90, and we should take every opportunity to thank them with all our hearts for what they've accomplished. And the birth of the Universal Peace Federation in a Korea marked by this type of history and the sacrifice is striking. And the late Dr. Sun Myung Moon and his spouse and co-founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, as we know, are proud Korean citizens. And under their guidance, this organization continues to hold out hope, not only for the reconciliation and reunification of the Korean Peninsula, but also for global peace, regardless of our faith background, ethnicity, and cultural background. It's a message that our world needs more than ever. The economic, financial, and political turmoil that we are seeing to be the ultimate outcome of the recent COVID-19 pandemic point to the need for increased global cooperation. We now hope the pandemic is behind us, but we do remain uncertain if the world will still face lockdowns, restrictions, and quarantines, and too often without clear criteria or parameters, and largely without international cooperation. It's encouraging that the world's peoples have gradually learned how to cope. UPF recognizes that long-lasting solutions are rooted in common core principles and values that recognize humanity's common quest for reconciliation between man and God, who is the greatest unifier. It's the message and the mission of UPF and of our founders and supporters, our ambassadors for peace around the world. And I'm glad to share with you with the conclusion of this ILC. Let's continue to seek to turn the ongoing Korean crisis into an opportunity and work at all levels with nations, civil society, business, academia, the media, and more for peace and harmony, sustainability and prosperity as one family under God. Thank you, everyone. May God bless you as we continue our important work for the unification of Korea.
Thank you so much, Dr. Famularo, especially for your passion and reminder of the significance of what we're working towards and how we must rededicate our efforts. Now we'd like to welcome a video message from Mrs. Angelica Selly. She is the president of Women's Federation for World Peace USA.
Good morning, distinguished leaders and guests of the ILC, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to share with you about two recent online conferences centering on women's perspective on the issue of unified Korea. It was my pleasure to facilitate the most recent IFLP session in the Americas in April. Current and former First Ladies and Second Ladies addressed the theme Women Leaders' Perspectives on Peace in the Pacific Rim, giving special attention to North Korean Peninsula. The program was attended by 248 participants. The IFLP is a project of the International Summit Council for Peace of the Universal Peace Federation International in partnership with Women's Federation for World Peace International. After opening remarks from the Women's Federation for World Peace President, Dr. Judy Cohn, our distinguished panel was comprised of Honorable Mrs. Mignon Bowen-Phillips, wife of the current Prime Minister of Guyana, and two former ladies from Nicaragua and Paraguay, Honorable Maria Fernandez Flores de Aleman and Honorable Emilia Franco. All presentations of the First Ladies expressed their heart of concern and resonance of the divided nation of Korea from a woman's perspective, as they compared the divides and challenges with those in their own countries. As one action step, the suggestion was made to send a delegation of women leaders to North Korea and speak with the Korean government. Yang Ho Hong, the president of North Korean Research Center and the Database Center of North Korean Human Rights, addressed the nature of the inter-Korean women's interactions, made the point that there may be too much emphasis on political discussion when it comes to the unification of the Korean Peninsula, and he therefore strongly promoted more women's involvement would naturally create a more amiable environment to find common ground with the women in North Korea based on their womanhood, culture, and family and event profession.
Thank you, President Selly. Definitely, this is an important era to include women and women leaders to round out the conversation, especially as we're talking about peace, and grateful for the partnership with WFWP. And now we'd like to welcome Congressman Dan Burton. Not only does he have experience as a representative in the House of Representatives, but he is the global chairman of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace.
And as usual, you're doing an outstanding job of moderating this, so thank you very much. Let me just start off by saying that Mother Moon and Dr. Walsh have done an outstanding job in getting the UPF organization working so well. It's a well-oiled machine, and I'm very happy to be the co-chairman of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, which has thousands of members from over 100 countries right now. We're working together to try to send a message to leaders throughout the world that the solution to our problems is not a conflict or the threat of a war, but it's peace, trying to find solutions to our problems where we can work together to solve our problems. And one of the things that you may have noticed today is there are leaders from all over the world that are expressing their concern and support for Dr. Walsh, Mother Moon, and the UPF organization, as well as Parliamentarians for Peace, which I chair. Vice President Pence, former Vice President of the United States, is supportive and has spoken. Speaker Newt Gingrich, one of the great leaders of the United States of America, is supportive and has spoken about this. Vice President Dan Quayle, former Vice President of the United States, and of course, the former Secretary of State for the United States has been involved as well. And the point is, leaders from all over the world are showing support for the goals that Dr. Hak Ja Moon, Mother Moon, has been working towards for a long time. I know of nobody that has worked as hard as she has to try to bring about a solution to our world problems through peaceful negotiations and through conferences with leaders around the world talking about the need to solve our problems in a peaceful way. So let me just say today, I'm happy to be a participant in this program. It's extremely important. And I also want to thank my good friend, Dr. Michael Jenkins, who works so hard along with Larry Moffat, who helps organize all these things. These guys are doing such an outstanding job, and I really appreciate their cooperation and their hard work. So let me just say to the leaders that have spoken today and the others, how much I appreciate what they're doing. I appreciate very much how much Dr. Hak Ja Moon has been contributing toward the goals of peace in this world. And I thank you all for letting me be with you today. And I hope you'll all continue to participate and work with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Burton. It's always an honor to be able to hear from you, and we're really grateful for your leadership in this important area. And now we'd like to welcome Archbishop George Augustus Stallings, who is the chairman of IAPD, for his concluding remarks and prayer. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kayleigh Moffitt. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of ILC 2021 as we focus on the theme, the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula, North and South Korea, the land of the morning calm, which is so vitally important to all of us. How blessed and fortunate we are to live in the best of times and the worst of times, as the great writer Charles Dickens said in A Tale of Two Cities. We live in a global village, and due to mass communications and modern technology, we can communicate and be in touch with each other in a matter of seconds. Therefore, we can ill afford to live with a narrow provincial mindset or an out of the loop point of view. As leaders and change agents, we must remain ever cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities, nations, and the world. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. Let us be mindful of the words of the late Martin Luther King Jr., who stated, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied together in a single garment of destiny." We are in an era, in a period of time, where we must become headlights and not tail lights. We must be thermostats, not thermometers. We are also aware that if there is to be a peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula, we as a global family, as a global village, must become continuously informed, more focused, and resolute in making the concerns of others our own. This is the moment that we have been waiting for, and we are the ones who we have been waiting for. This is our opportunity under the aegis of the true mother of peace, Dr. Hak Ja Moon, to make a difference in our world. If we can reach the ends of the earth in a matter of seconds now, how critically important it is for us to seize this moment. The Latins, the Romans had an expression, carpe diem. We must seize the day. We must seize this opportunity to really make this effort a part of creating this universal global family. The reunification of the Korean Peninsula is of ultimate importance to each and every one of us, because once that peninsula is reunited, we will come to realize that with God, all things are possible, and nothing is beyond the achievement of those who have been formed and fashioned in the image and likeness of God. Let the power of the Spirit of God that resides within each and every one of us create or enkindle a fire so that we can truly transform the face of the earth. Thank you, true Mother of Peace, Dr. Jahan. Thank you for what you have brought to the people of the world. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Heavenly Parent, you have been our help in ages past, and you alone are our hope for years to come. Renew within each and one of us a righteous spirit, a spirit that looks beyond our own needs to see the needs of others. We pray for the reunification of the Korean Peninsula, a land divided by a 38th parallel, but a line that is far deeper and more profound in the hearts of relatives, families who are separated by a physical line, a geographical line, yet their hearts are even more separated because they cannot be one with each other. Help us to be more concerned about what is going on globally. As we act locally, remind us that we must continuously think globally, that we are a part of the human family. We are part of the universal family, one family under God. Thank you for all of the leadership that surfaced during this ILC 2021, for their commitment to peace, for their contributions in the efforts of peace and establishing peace around the world. As we work with the Mother of Peace, true Mother, to see the realization of God's presence manifested here on the earth, let us realize that we can create Chanulguk. We can create a place where heaven and earth become one, and it can reside here on the earth. But until there is true and lasting peace for all of humankind, especially between North and South Korea and in the Middle East, there can really be peace for none of us. And so we go forth from this ILC 21, realizing that there is still so much work to be done, that this providential work that you, O God, our Heavenly Parent, have assigned to true parents continues and presses on toward fulfillment. And even if it delays, let us continue to remain ever vigilant and faithful, because ultimately the vision of peace will be fulfilled. It will press on. It will manifest itself. May we offer these prayers to you. May they rise like incense before your presence. And may you find favor in our work, that you will prosper the work of our hands until it has been brought to fulfillment. We ask this in your name and in all of our names, especially those of us who are blessed central families. Amen, Amen, and Aju.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Archbishop Stallings, for that beautiful prayer and the warm message reminding us of the heart we have in all that we do. And now for our final closing remarks, I'd like to bring back Dr. Jenkins. Welcome, Dr. Jenkins. And thank you, Dr. Jenkins, for your incredible leadership leading us through this ILC these last 3 days.
Thank you so much, Kayleigh, and thank you to Dr. Kyun Kim and Dr. Young, who spoke in our first session, and especially our leader, Dr. Walsh. We are so grateful in all of our leadership here. I'm on for one reason. Larry Moffat brought some breaking news to us, and I'm going to share that with you. We just made Yonhap news. That'll go to the Korea Times and the Korea Herald. U.S. must consider reconstituting six-party talks with North Korea, former U.S. envoys. And it goes down through the article and comes right to our program. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful, very, very important statement by Ambassador Detrani and Ambassador Christopher Hill and Fred Fleitz. And this will really be something that really helps us. Sung Kim, who's very good friends with Ambassador Detrani and Ambassador Hill, was just named a special envoy to North Korea for the Biden administration. So we'll be getting him this article immediately. It puts us right in the center of the discussion because this is a very, very crucial moment in the Biden administration's work to try to bring peace between the six parties and especially North and South Korea. So I want to thank you all for that wonderful news. Thank you, Larry, for catching that fastball. He's always there ready to let us know the breaking news. Thank you to all again. Thank you, Tom McDivitt and all of our leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday.
Thank you
Thanks so
very
much.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you so
good
much.
afternoon. Thank you, Archbishop Starrings.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada and Europe.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful job. Oh,
Yeah.
I am so
Dr.
inspired.
Kim Kim, good
Dr.
to see
Ki-Hoon
you.
Kim,
Thank
so
you.
good to see you. God
Yeah,
bless you.
nice
Thank
here.
you.
Nice here. Yeah, we are winning teams here.
Uh-huh.
So we are so
God
grateful.
bless the WCLC.
Yeah, you know, I'm
Yay.
realize how that fact-finding tour building this conference well, and within short period of time, you did a wonderful job. I am so surprised and impressed. Thank you once again,
Thank
and
you.
have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Archbishop Starrings,
Yes, Mrs. Duggan.
next month will be ILC forum. I'll contact you.
Well, can we start planning the next ILC now?
No,
No, it's not the last minute.
Just before lunch, how's that?
it's too much in advance. Too much in advance.
Yeah.
Yes, it's next
Let's not-
month. Next month, Dr. Archibald Starrings, ILC.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,